Algebra 1, Lesson 42, we are looking at percent problems and being able to solve those with a couple different methods. Our vocabulary word, we're talking about percent, which is really just a ratio that compares a number to 100. How much do we have of our 100? So let's look at a couple different ways that percent problems can be phrased. So first, they could be phrased like, what is 40% of 20? Trying to find that portion of 20. Or we could say something like, 40% of what number is 20? So 20 is the part. We're trying to figure out what the whole is. And what percent of 20 is 4? In that one, we are looking for the percent. So let's start off with a couple examples. 85% of the kids in PE class are UCLA fans. If there are 40 kids in the class, how many root for UCLA? Well, the two big strategies here for going about percent problems is using an equation or using a proportion. So, first when we're looking at our equation, remember that we can say something like percent of the whole, so percent times the whole, will give us the part. Okay, so in this case, we want 85%. We do know the whole, which is 40 students, and that will give us the part that we want. Okay, well, in this case, we can't really multiply by a percentage, so we turn it into a decimal of 0.85, or we could turn it into a fraction of 85 over 100, and we get our part. Now, when we do 0.85 times 40, I believe we get 34. Let me just check. And we do. We see that there are 34 students that are UCLA fans. Now, our other way is using a proportion, and we can set it up in a couple ways. We can say part over whole is equal to percent over 100. Another way you will see this is over of equals percent over 100. The is over of refers to the words that we often see in these type of percent problems. So, of the kids. So 85% of the kids. Well, of the kids, that's 40 kids, so we put it in the denominator. So we would end up with, we don't know the part, so we put a variable, equals 85 over 100. And we can do lots of things like cross multiply, or figure out 40 times what gives us 100. Whatever it might be, we still get that x is 34. So you can use an equation, or you could use a proportion to solve these problems. Those are the big two ways to do it. So let's try it with this one. 40% of the people in your class wear glasses. There are 30 people in your class. How many wear glasses? Now we could use a percent, or we could use an equation, say 0.4 times 30 equals our part. Or we could use our proportion, say x over 30 equals 40 over 100. Another way, though, is figuring out 10% of our whole. Okay, since we have 40%, I would need 4 of those 10s to get there. So what I'm saying is, if I have 30 as my whole, what is 10%? Well, 10% of 30 is just 3. So if I have 4 of those, so another 10%, another 10%, another 10%, that means that I'm going to have 4 3s to get there. So I have a total of 12 people that wear glasses. So that's another way to go about it. But what if we flipped the question and said, how many do not wear glasses? Same percentage that do wear glasses. We have 30 kids. So what percent do not wear glasses? And you would say, well, 40% do wear glasses, then 60% do not. So we could set up a proportion and say, our part that do not wear glasses over the whole of 30 kids is 60 over 100. And we could cross multiply and get 1800 equaling 100x. We divide by 100 on each side. And we get that 18 people do not wear glasses, which makes sense because 12 do wear glasses, so 18 do not wear glasses. In the 7th grade, there are 400 students. 60 of those students are in the orchestra. What percent are in the orchestra? Well, we know our part. 60 students are in the orchestra out of 400 students equals what percent over 100? Well, you could cross multiply, or you could see that something time or 100 times 4 gives us 400. So something times 4 gives us 60, which would mean that x is 15. 15% are in the orchestra. Remember, with our equation, we could have done this too and said, what percent times our whole of 400 gives us 60? So I could represent that percent that I don't know with an x. So x times 400 equals 60. So I could divide by 400 on each side, do that division, maybe cross out some zeros, maybe simplify, and get that x is 15%. You'll get a decimal of 0.15, and that is 15%. 210 kids like pizza. That's 35% of the school. How many kids are in the school? Well, let's set up an equation and say, we know the percentage, that's 35%. We don't know how many kids are in the school, so I don't know the whole, but my part that like pizza are 210. So I could turn this into a decimal and say 0.35 times the whole equals 210. I divide each side by 0.35, and I believe, if I have it correct, 210 divided by 0.35 is 600. So we see that there are 600 students in the school. Let's just do a couple more examples. Sally's punch recipe used 22% cranberry juice. If she made 10 cups of punch, how much cranberry juice did she use in the recipe? Well, we know that our whole is 10. She made full 10 cups of punch. 22%, so 0.22 is our percentage, and that will give us our whole. Or, sorry, our part, that is cranberry juice. So, 0.22 times 10 is 2.2. So she used 2.2 cups of cranberry juice to make this recipe. All right, Lindsay ordered a painting for her apartment. She paid 30% when she ordered it, and she will pay the remainder when it's delivered. If she paid $15 when she ordered it, how much did the painting cost? All right, so we could set up a proportion to say, well, the part that she paid was 15 out of a total that we don't know, and that was 30% of our 100. Well, we could say 15 times 2 is 30, so something times 2 is 100. Well, that means that our whole x is $50. So she total would have to pay $50. She's already paid 15, so she needs to pay $35 more. All right. Here are a couple other examples that you can try out on your own. Well, I hope this was helpful for your homework and for studying.